Good day and welcome. Matthew here again. We are once again race C of the daily races, Group 1 at Le Mans. Tonight, or today, or this morning, or whenever you may be watching this, we're running the Audi. After trying a few different cars the other night, I thought I'd give the Audi a go. The first race of the night, I actually ran the Toyota, and the Audi started on pole, and by halfway round the lap, the Audi was out of battery power, hybrid power. And so he fell behind me. He started first. It was Sarthe, who's a very quick driver. Started on pole with a 3:18 time or something like that. And so that surprised me. I thought, I feel there was more in the Audi. I was like, maybe it requires a bit of thought with the hybrid system to get the most out of it. And so I was keen to give it a go myself, see if I could do better than Zods did. So here we are. I did not expect Sarthe to join the race, and I was a little worried. And Hella Flush in the Peugeot is... I got past him initially with the hybrid, but he's back past me and pulling away quite quickly. This is my first race in the Audi. I wasn't sure what to expect. I was just taking my old approach in the Toyota before the 1.39 patch, where you had to lift and coast and brake early into the chicanes and into the sharper corners, the longer braking zones, to regenerate the battery. And I'll try to show you what I did a little bit later on. So I was just filling it out this first lap, see how much fuel it would use, seeing if I could stay off the higher fuel maps and be competitive in the Audi. On to lap 2, and we're coming up through Tete Rouge, and this was really the first sign of any trouble I may have had. I wasn't sure how the Mazda in Sarthe's hand was going to go. The Mazda hadn't really been a threat with the fuel consumption earlier in the week, but I wasn't sure about this. I had used 2% more than I had to in the first lap, so I knew I had to save a bit more. And here you'll see how early I brake to regen. So I'm off the power, on the brake slightly just to coast into this corner. And as you can see, the cyan bar on the steering wheel build up with the hybrid power and then gets deployed as I go down the straight. So as Sarthe approached in the Mazda, let him by, got on the brakes, took it easy into that corner to build up the power and then deploy it down the straight. And I'll do it again here. I get on the brakes quite early. What's that, about the 100 meter board? No, the 200 meter board. Just easing on the brakes, just a little, just to generate, get the brakes generating that energy, building up the battery again so I can deploy it down the next straight. The advantage of this is twofold. First of all, you've got plenty of battery power for all the straights, all the hard accelerating zones, which you really need to get a good lap time out of it, and consistently over 5 laps. I mean, if you're just doing a time trial, you don't need to worry about it. You just blast it as you need to, and you may run out at the end of the lap, but it doesn't matter. It's 1 lap, it's a time trial. But for a race where you're trying to do it for 5 laps, you need to keep the energy up and you need to maintain the energy to be competitive with this car. The second advantage is if the battery is pushing you along, then you're not using your internal combustion engine, so you're saving fuel. So it's a fuel saving exercise while giving you more speed. If you run out of battery power, then your combustion engine has to do all the work, and it uses more fuel doing that work and getting you up to speed. You spend more time in the lower gears at higher revs, and it costs you more fuel. So you need to regenerate that battery to get you along and to save fuel for this 5 laps. On to lap 3. Once again, Sarthe gets past the Mazda down the first sector of the Mulsanne straight. That's where his car has the most advantage over mine, but that was fine. I was still trying to save fuel, so I was happy to sit in his draft. I was generating enough power to sort of boost up behind him out of the slow corners, and then just sit in his draft and turn up the fuel mix just to gain back that extra fuel I'd used in the first lap. And I was doing it quite well, so now I was getting quite comfortable with the car, a lot more comfortable than early on. But here was important. This is where I knew he was a little bit faster through the Porsche curbs, so I used my boost, don't save any fuel, and I pushed past him. If he got ahead of me here, there was a chance he could pull away, and I wouldn't be able to get him back. He'd just pull away through the Porsche curbs and then pull away down Mulsanne, and then I'd be in trouble because I wouldn't have the power to get back to him necessarily while I was still trying to fuel save. So I had to make that important move for the race and to stay ahead of Sarthe by the end. Coming into the final lap now, Sarthe had remained ahead of me for lap 4, and so I thought he would have pulled away, but I managed to just keep up with him, keeping his draft. He did unfortunately pick up a penalty through that first corner of the Dunlop chicane, so that was going to cost him about a second later on in this lap. And my goal here was to just keep in touch, try to draft. It wasn't necessarily about drafting or saving fuel at this stage. I'd done the fuel saving, I had enough fuel, I could run this lap a lot faster, so I didn't have to worry about sitting in his draft. It was really just about getting the car in position to pull out of Arnage corner and pull alongside him. If I could go into the Porsche curbs ahead of the Mazda, I was pretty safe. So that was the goal. So there goes his penalty. I thought I'd fly by him, but it actually had quite a good run and pulled out enough of a gap, so I just end up sitting in his draft for here. Just putting him off, pulling to the side, means you can't have the most optimal line into the corner, but the Mazda's got better straight line speed, so he takes it anyway. And he runs really wide at the second chicane, so he picks up another 0.5 of a second penalty. And from here, this is where I knew I had second place. The Peugeot in first flew out to about 9 seconds in the lead and then started saving fuel, and so we caught him a little, but he still finished 5 or 6 seconds ahead. He had a great run in the Peugeot, fastest I've seen the Peugeot go, so he did really well to save the fuel over 5 laps. So it was really a battle for second place and seeing if I can make this Audi go the distance. Once again, in the draft of the Mazda, he's got a penalty, so I just need to stay near him or with him. And I knew he was going to... He's worse out of Arnage than I am, and then with a 0.5 of a second penalty, it's going to be really taking candy from a baby. So just easy into Arnage. Sarthe pulls over to the right, and an easy position. So that was it really. The Audi can do the job, just it's not as competitive as the Toyota or Peugeot. I think overall race pace was a 17 minute 13 second, so it's about 10 seconds slower than I've gone in the Toyota and 6 or 7 seconds slower than the Peugeot up ahead. But it can go faster than what I drove it. It's got some fantastic cornering ability, something I'd like to exploit a little bit more with a few more laps around here, but that'll wait for another day. So that was the race. I enjoyed driving the Audi. It's certainly a car which requires a bit more thought put into it, managing the hybrid system and the fuel over the length of the race. As you see, not so competitive, not the fastest, but certainly a lot of fun, and one that I'm going to put a bit more time into before the week ticks over, just to see if I can get more out of it. Certainly had a blast. I know there's more in it. It's not going to be on Toyota pace, but certainly a lot closer to the Peugeots. So until then, until next week, we'll be doing some more daily races because the FIA is still another week away. If you want to catch me live, I am on Twitch on Wednesday nights and Saturday nights, link in the description below. Otherwise, I'll have my announcements on my Twitch, which the link is also in the description below. Until then, thank you very much for watching and coming along, and hope to hang out soon.